Please, may we rise as we observe protocol. You may kindly take a seat. Ladies and gentlemen, in MTN language we say yellow. I'm going to request that we say it again so that we warm up and say yellow. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests and partners. My name is Kyabetswe Mabe, and I will be your host for this morning. And on behalf of MTN and the CEO for MTN South Africa, Charles Molabisi, I would like to welcome you to the launch of MTN's Connecting Every Child program. Now, this program seeks to bridge the digital gap and ensure that we promote digital access to the most vulnerable communities. Joining us today, we have our respective ministers. We have the Minister for Communications and Digital Technologies, Solima Latsi. We have the Minister for Basic Education, Siviwe Gwahube. We have the Honorable Premier of Gauteng, Ntate Panyaza Lusufi. We welcome you and thank you for joining us. We have our fellow learners present here today. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. Our OEM partners, thank you for joining us and for making this campaign a success. We also have our DGs from the respective departments. To everyone else that contributed to the success of Connecting Every Child campaign, thank you. And to the audience that's joining us virtually, we say thank you and welcome, and with that we say all protocol observed. Now, this program is very close to my heart because I honestly believe that when we empower our youth, we then unleash the potential for them to change the world. This program is really a call to action for individuals, for businesses, both in the public and private sector, to donate 30,000 devices for pupils that will then benefit about 600 schools in rural and remote areas. Now, we do know that this year is a very special year, right? It's 30 years where we're commemorating 30 years of democracy, but also MTN has also been in existence for 30 years. And I think sometimes we just take it for granted when we sit in rooms like these, just really at the privilege that we have to just access digital technology and being able to just easily and freely look at our devices. But we do know the impact that the lack of technology had from a learning and an education point of view when the COVID-19 pandemic hit. So UNICEF presenting its stats to say, learners experience about 75 to a full year loss of curriculum, and they were a year behind, just based on the lack of access to digital technologies. And obviously with that, we also know that the most vulnerable to these will be our kids and our learners in the rural areas. So I believe that the pandemic really highlighted the importance of technology, but also as a key enabler to be able to address key social challenges like unemployment, poverty, and inequality. But we all know that with all challenges, there's always a silver lining, right? And the silver lining was really around how do we then look at this technology to be able to empower our youth? And in 2019, the Department of Education pledged to provide tablet to each learner. This meant that about close to 13 million students would then be provided with a tablet. Now, in true MTN style and tradition, we really hold ourselves accountable to really participating in the drive to resolve social challenges. And this is really premised on our belief statement that everyone deserves the benefit of a modern connected life. So it is because of this that the MTN SA Foundation, in the past 5 years, then donated and distributed about 4,800 devices. But we all know that just 4,800 devices and the partnership with the Department of Basic Education surely can't be enough. And we really need to do more. And MTN really, in terms of how they do, they believe in the power of stakeholders, the power of collaboration, the power of partnerships. And it is for this reason, and before I go into that, really there's a Setswana idiom which says, Maboho dingo atibana. And what it essentially says is that you navigate life better when you help out each other. But you also have more meaningful impact when we all put our hands together. And it is this is a reason why we then partnered with the Department of Basic Education and the Department of Communication Digital Technologies to be able to ensure that we scale up this impact. And that's why we then donated, we're looking at donating 30,000 devices to impact the child. So before I then go further, I'd like to introduce our CEO, the Chief Extra Miler himself, the CEO of MTN South Africa. But before I think I'm excited to just recognize my CEO. We'll then recognize Ralph Mupita. Thank you. Let's give it a warm of applause just for Charles.
Kia, thank you so much, Program Director. Yellow. I nearly said yellow, MTN as yellow. Can you try it again? Yellow, everybody, yellow. Yellow. Thank you very much. Let me start by welcoming our Group President and CEO, and Tate Ralph Mupita. Thank you so much, Ralph, for being with us. I also want to welcome our Premier, the hosting Premier, who's always there for us, and we are forever grateful, and Tate Panyaza Lusufi. I'll move on and recognize the Honorable Minister of Basic Education, Mercy Viwe Kwarube. Then move on to welcome the Honorable Minister of Communications and Digital Technologies, Ntate Solimalatsi, distinguished guests, media representatives, and most importantly, the learners and partners. Good morning. Let me reflect and say that this year, MTN celebrated 30 years in existence. This 30 years is a major milestone in the existence of our country and our business. Can I ask that we all clap and recognize the successes of these 30 years? As we reflect on this milestone, we are reminded of the progress we've made and the commitment to the values that underpin our society: equality, justice, and opportunities for all. We've grown from a company of mere 20 people to now, across the group, employing over 17,000 across the length and breadth of our markets. In South Africa, this business has invested over 10 billion rand every single year in the last 10 years. As one of South Africa's largest operators, we now connect 37 million South Africans across the length and breadth of our nation. However, as we celebrate, we realize that we are challenged because more work still lies ahead. As MTN, that is why we continue the quest to build digital platforms for South Africa and indeed Africa's progress. And in so doing, we are convinced that we are extending hope, dignity, and opportunity. Let me remind you, ladies and gentlemen, that these three words, I can say with conviction, that the most quoted words by the MTN Group President and CEO, Ntate Ralph Mupita. This is because these three words are who we are as MTN. They are the DNA of our business. Let me talk about hope. We see hope as a force that drives us forward. It's a light in the dark that guides us through the most challenging moments. However, hope on its own doesn't exist in a vacuum. Hope thrives when nurtured by a sense of dignity, recognizing that inherent worth in every South African and every human being. And in a world that often tries to divide us, dignity unites us because it reminds us that every person, regardless of background, has something to offer. However, dignity and hope are not enough. They need to be paired with opportunity. Because opportunity is a bridge that allows hope to become a reality and dignity to be fulfilled. It is a chance to learn, to grow, to work, and for all of us to contribute to society. However, the reality of today is the following. 2.6 billion, or 1/3 of the global population, still almost remain offline. While the internet use is gradually increasing, some groups are being left behind, such as the people in rural and remote areas, and also people with disabilities, women and girls. In South Africa, it is estimated that out of the 23,000 primary and high schools in 2022, around 84% of schools had internet connections for teachers and learners, while 16% did not. That is a work that we have ahead that we need to change. As MTN, we believe that we need to systematically and deliberately ensure that we address the barriers to digital inclusion. Firstly, ensuring that we drive universal connectivity for all. We now have a population coverage of 98% across the length and breadth of our nation. In the last 5 years, we've put on the ground 50 billion rand of investment. Secondly, we've been enabling access to educational content and curricula to over 1.6 million learners and teachers through our MTN online school and Siyavula platforms. Thirdly, to enable children to bridge accessibility gap between having connectivity and accessing education content, we have provided over 4,300 devices over the past 5 years. MTN remains deeply committed to contributing meaningfully towards communities that we serve. Today, for us, is a significant day. We launch our initiative to bridge the digital divide under the theme, Connecting Every Child. Can I ask that the audience that you say this with me, Connecting Every Child. Can you say that again? Connecting every child. With the ambition to distribute 30,000 devices to learners in rural and remote areas. With the ambition, that's right. With the ambition to distribute 30,000 devices to learners in rural and remote areas. This is because for my niece and nephews in the village, Koharangaila, who needs to be able to have access to education, who are under the cover of the MTN network, LTE, they need access. They might have the network, but they don't have the devices to access material so that they themselves can have a shot in life and have the same education that my son is getting at St. John's. We are proud to stand in solidarity with the Department of Education. Together, Minister, we pledge to support you and to help to bring education to our people. To the learners present here today and those across the country, let me speak directly to you. You are the future of our nation. The future of South Africa depends completely on you. With these devices, We're providing you with the keys to unlock the world of knowledge, resources, and opportunities that can help you to shape your destiny and contribute to the progress of our nation. I want to say again that the future is in your hands. And MTN is here to walk the journey with you, to empower you, and to enable you. I'm pleased to inform you today, as MTN, that we are contributing to this big, bold, hairy, audacious goal of connecting every child. We are pledging 2,000 devices as a target to try and get to 30,000 devices by end of this year. Together with our partners, we can take the further steps to bridge the digital divide. We appeal to everyone. We're asking the media to propagate this message. We're challenging the CEOs in the public and private sector. Those who are our partners, we're challenging them to bring their share of contribution to the 30,000. I'm challenging the CEO of Telkom. I'm challenging the CEO of Vodacom. No, I'm serious. The MTN, that's right. MTN is putting forward 2,000 devices to this big, hairy, audacious goal of 30,000 devices. I say, my colleagues and friends, may you do the same. As I close, I want to thank everyone for being here with us. We are burdened by the challenges of our country, but we're encouraged and challenged by them. And we're energized by the responsibilities that we have as a company. I thank you all.
In 2024, the ability to access the internet should be considered a basic human right. Everyone should have the ability to be online, to connect, to discover, to learn. However, not everyone can. In fact, an alarming percentage of South African school-going children cannot. It's time to change this and ensure that we are connecting every child. Let's connect South Africa's children to information, empower them with knowledge, and arm them with the resources they need for a quality education, inside and beyond the classroom. In celebration of 30 years of democracy and 30 years of MTN, we are excited to launch the Connecting Every Child program. We're calling upon each and every one of you to join us in donating 30,000 devices for school children to get them connected. Together, we will improve our children's access to quality education. Learn today, lead tomorrow.
Now, don't you think that video is so heartwarming? I think the work that we do, we sometimes take it for granted. But when you see videos like this that impact real lives and real people, you actually have a sense of appreciation. Now, thank you, Ntate Mudlapisi, just for taking us really around the commitment that MTN has. And really, as an organization that has deep roots in our communities, we can see the investment that MTN is having. And really, if you look at in the past few years through our Ultra Rural program, we've seen hundreds of deep rural areas benefiting from state-of-the-art technologies and really promoting access to education, to healthcare, and overall increasing of economic activities. I also like the call to action to our learners and our young people. And I liked what you said to say, how do you then pair hope and opportunity? And this is essentially what it is, that you must look at this device. Now I'm talking to the learners. You must look at this device and take it as an opportunity that will help you dream, an opportunity that will help you change your situations around. And you must hope and you must dream. But this is not just a tool for TikTok and dance challenges, because we know that there's each dance challenge every single month. So please look at that and just really ensure that you use this tool wisely. Now, with that being said, we'd like to call upon our honorable Premier of Gauteng Province, Ntate Panyaza Lesufi. Can you please just give him a warm welcome?
Thanks so much, KB. Truly appreciate that. I want to acknowledge the Minister of Communication and Digital Technologies, Ntate Soli Malatsi. I was looking at your socks and your trousers. You truly represent government of national unity. I must thank you for for representing us. You live that spirit, so thank you so much. Minister of Basic Education, Ms. Viwe, and the MTN President, Ntate Ralph Mupita. Thank you so much, Ntate Ralph. And the CEO, Charles Mulapisi. I've seen the DG of the Department of Communication, MTN Foundation, Board Chair, and former Deputy Minister. Prof, thank you so much. It's always heartwarming to see you around us. And the entire leadership of MTN and partners that are here and learners that are here. MTN, I want to thank you for pushing a dream that I carried for quite some time. That one day we will make chalkboard and duster history in our country. Chalkboard and duster belong to the museum, does not belong to our classroom. We need to put investment to ensure that every classroom, it's one learner, one tablet, one teacher, one laptop, one classroom, one smart board. That's the future that we must carry. And we must be spirited. We must not be scared. Sorry. I'm excited that the Minister of Basic Education is here and the Minister of Communications are here. We have a responsibility to change how we teach our children. We have a responsibility to incorporate the latest technologies that can allow our children to be part of a better world. The world is changing. CEO, I'm excited when you say these children are the future. These are the children that will create opportunities that we failed to create. I always argue that people came to Gauteng looking for gold. That gold is gone. The future gold is these children. These are the children that will create jobs. These are the children that will create products. These are the children that will create opportunities for our country. These are the children that will turn the economy of our country. But they can't turn the economy of our country when we are still backwardness. And my argument is very simple, CEO. Stone Age didn't end because that generation ran out of stones. Stone Age ended because new ideas were planted. We need to plant new ideas without shame. And Minister, it starts in the teaching classroom. My argument is very simple, Minister. There's no teacher that is trained in this country for private education, formal model C-school education, or public education. All teachers are trained from the same pot. But when they're deployed to our education system, the results are different. And what we need to do is to emphasize the need of universities to change how they train our teachers. Because you can't still, in this age and era, train a teacher on how to write on a chalkboard, while we need to teach them how to connect to the internet. You can't, at this era, have a teacher that is not ready to utilize devices as a tool to teach our children. We can't, at this era, that as a country, we can't invest our resources on digitalizing our syllabus and our curriculum. We have invested a lot of money as Gauteng, and we've bent our fingers, Minister. We've bent our fingers. But I'm proud that all classrooms in the township that are grade 12 classrooms in Gauteng, all of them have a smart board and all of them are connected to the internet. It might be a small gesture, but it's a very important gesture. And I'm very proud, and thanks to MTN as part of our partners, we have the government that I have the honor to lead, we have invested, and we are the only province, 2.7 billion rand in building a new broadband connectivity across our province, so that every school is connected, Minister. There's an agreement that was made, Minister, maybe we've heard, Minister of Communication, that this telecoms company will partner with schools and connect all our schools. They are dragging their feet, Minister. Because I love my children. I'll not wait for somebody that drag their feet. I'll run ahead. They'll find me ahead. Because that investment must give our children an opportunity. We're also proud that we are converting our curriculum so that our children must enter a school, Minister, and we will really need to support Minister of Basic Education. We call it a multi-certification in Gauteng. That every child must be skilled with a certain skill that is linked to the economy at a certain grade. So that all our children must not trace this grade 12 certificate. And if they fail grade 12, they don't have anything. But if we ensure that at grade R, they can fix an elevator, because the future is about elevators and lifts. At grade 5, they can fly drones. At grade 9, they can fix anything from an air conditioner, a fridge, and anything, while they're still in the classroom. And ensure that you've got schools of specialization so that every school specializes. We can't have all our schools doing the same thing. There must be a school that must specialize on the challenges that face our country and other things. So I'm a fanatic of skills development, CEO Charles. You are not only going to count on my support, I'm going to work with you. Even if, and we're not going to be jealous of children that are in rural areas and other things. Don't leave us behind. All children are the same. Count on us, we'll be there. We are connecting our schools, we are improving our classrooms. And I'm, once more, CEO Charles, challenging you, all the children that are here, let's convert them to be their schools to be a school of specialization in telecommunications. They must be the future that will build the telecom that you are in. Congratulations and best wishes with this particular task. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Premier. And thank you so much for just really articulating well the vision for education in Gauteng and in the country. And really around highlighting the importance of technology and what it plays in really challenging the status quo in our classrooms. And really from what you said, I think we almost need to reimagine how the classroom needs to look like going forward. And also, you also spoke about partnerships and collaboration and really inviting our industry leaders to also take part in this. Now, with that being said, please can we express our warm welcome to the Minister of Basic Education, Ms. Siviwe Gwagube.
Good morning, or how does it say? Yellow? Why do you guys look so forlorn? Yellow? Good to be here. Thank you very much, Program Director, and to my colleague, the Minister of Communications and Digital Technologies, Sali Malati, and to the Premier of Gauteng. Thank you very much for the welcome, Honorable Panyaza Lusufi, and also thank you very much for the challenge. I look forward to really working with you, not only with our partners, but also with our provincial colleagues in making sure that we realize the future of education that is modern, that is cutting edge, that allows us to compete on a global stage, that is not seriously just being catered for the African continent, but we are able to make sure that our learners are able to compete at a stage, at a global stage, so that we ourselves can find ourselves, competing in with cutting edge education. Also would like to say a huge thank you to the Group CEO and the CEO of MTN. Thank you very much for the invitation, and thank you very much for this wonderful initiatives. And to the leaders and members of the MTN Group, thank you very much once again. And to the members of the MTN South African Foundation Board, the leaders of civil society, members of the media, but the most important people in the room, our learners. Good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, in a rapidly evolving digital age, as I've indicated, the quality of internet connectivity is very, very important. And so it's also very critical in terms of improving the quality of education. One of the key priorities that I've outlined as the priorities of the 7th administration is around increasing the levels of literacy in the South African education system. And literacy is founded upon literacy is also founded upon numeracy and being able to access kind of technology, manipulating basic numbers. But this has to start at a very young age, as the Premier said. In South Africa, we've got a phenomenon where our learners are only starting to learn to read and write and read for meaning only when they turn 7 years old in grade 1. But we've got to be able to trace this connectivity and enabling access to quality basic education for our learners at a far younger age. Because, Premier, the reality is that if you are privileged in South Africa, you are able to take your child to an early child development center that is able to not just be a daycare center, but that is a teaching environment. And by the time they get to grade R, they are far more well-versed in the language not only of the day or the language of the economy, but they're far more advanced than the fellow learners who come from places where I come from, Kwamdingi in the rural Eastern Cape. And so I'm heartened by the fact that we are in the 7th administration moving to universalizing the access to grade R across the board. And also we are looking to see how do we incorporate early child development into the education sector. So ECD now is no longer going to be falling just into social development, but will be formally incorporated into the basic education space. And that's important because gone are the days where if you are poor and you're living in a particular area, that determines your lot in life. We've got to make sure that we equalize, and there's no greater equalizer than that of technology. Unfortunately, many of the country's poorest schools lack the necessary devices, bandwidth for connectivity, and digital skills for training. COVID-19, as you said, Program Director, was very, very instrumental in showing us what the digital divide has done, where many schools who are in urban areas were able to quickly convert to schooling online, whereas a lot of our learners lost critical schooling days of the year, and a lot of them had to catch up. You know, I was speaking to parents who were talking to me about how, and this may seem something very, very small, Premier, but a mom was telling me about how her child, who is in grade 12, because of this catch-up program that they have to do and the revisions that they have to do, spends most of her time not only in the school classroom during the day, but also is going to extra classes at night, going to extra classes over the weekend. And these things have far-reaching consequences because in South Africa, where particularly girl children and our children in general are vulnerable, how do we expect children to be having to sacrifice so much just to be able to get a quality education, to be able to just access information? And the fact that children have to endanger themselves and on weekends at night trying to go get extra lessons is not something that we should accept. It's not the kind of status quo we should accept. And so I am heartened by this kind of partnership that we are seeing here. So the goal for this, for the goal of South Africa's 2004 white paper on e-education was that for every learner in the country is to be ICT capable by 2013, and for teachers to use ICT to enhance teaching and learning. But more than 10 years after that targeted deadline, we are still lagging behind. And so this is extremely important, and that's why it's important that partnerships like this one are going to help us be able to reach that goal. The NDP also places ICT at the center of what we do, particularly in realizing quality education. When the now Premier of Gauteng, Honorable Lusufi, was the MEC of Education, he did his best to provide ICT resources in schools. And we also saw him battle criminals who stole equipment from schools. And so this is another big challenge that we are facing, where our partners are coming to the table and providing us with important devices. We are dealing with the issue of crime in our communities, where some of this equipment is stolen from our future, from our children. And this is why it's important, and I always say, to deliver quality education is not just the the role of one department. It's impossible. 300 billion rand is not going to enable you to deliver quality education to 14 million learners across the country. You need partners like yourselves. You need provinces to come on board. You need communities to come on board. You need communities to see schools. We need our learners to see schools as your asset, so that you can say, we are protecting our asset. We need parents to be spirited about schools and say, we know that there's valuable equipment in the school, and we will report any kind of criminality that we see when schools are being raided. And I want to thank MTN for contributing to the further development of our education system over the past 5 years. I know our partnership goes far beyond just today. You have contributed to the National Senior Certificate results announcements. You have contributed to the Back to School campaign. You have provided digital skills training program and the MTN Online School. The MTN Online School provides learners in grade 10 to 12 with zero-rated data access to quality learning tools that can reinforce the content. But it's one thing to have access to data, but you obviously need access to devices. And that is why connecting every child is something that is going to be very critical for us. So this is true partnership. This is what, in my view, is nation building. So where corporates are not just viewing themselves as and looking at just their bottom line, but they're also looking at how do we systemically improve our country's lot in life, and how do we improve the future of these learners who are in this room. And thank you for not just making this a once-off contribution, a CSI contribution, but you are making sure that you are systemically improving education at all levels, and that's what's needed from our partners. And so finally, it is the business of my government and the department that I lead to create a policy environment that supports innovation and improves access to ICT infrastructure in South African schools. And so, Premier, I do take the challenge very seriously, and I want to make sure that I support provinces in this regard. Initiatives like Connecting Every Child will certainly help the department achieve its ambition of ensuring every child has access to a device, and we are proud to have partners such as the MTN Group and the MTN Foundation in this journey. But before I step off, I do want to say to my punkies in the room that I want you to know that regardless of where you come from, that does not have to determine your trajectory in life. I come from a rural town in the Eastern Cape, and had it not been for access to quality education that came at a great cost to a single mother who was a teacher at a rural school, I wouldn't be standing where I am today. But my dream is that I don't want parents to bankrupt themselves just for you to have access to quality education. I don't want to be the exception in the room. I want that to be the norm. I want all of you to be able to say, I easily can access quality education in my country. I can easily achieve whatever I set my mind to. So I want to make this undertaking to my pungis in the room that we're going to work day and night to make sure that your parents must not bankrupt themselves just for you to go to a school 30 kilometers away from home. I want you to know that we're going to work day and night, that you are connected, that you can compete on a global scale. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. Before I now, call upon the Minister of Communication and Digital Technology, please can I ask that we share this event. This event needs to go viral in social media. So the hashtag for today is #ConnectEveryChild. And we're really just trying to create a movement. So let's hope that you share this hashtag on your socials, that after this event, we're creating a movement and we actually surpass the targeted 30,000. All right? So thank you, Minister, for your wise words and really reiterating the power that lies in the digital world. But more than anything, I think you reiterated the power of equity, right? That every child, whether they're in rural Free State, whether they're in Sandton, they must have the same quality of education, the same quality of opportunities. Now, with that being said, I would like to call upon the Minister of Communication and Digital Technology, Ntate Solimaladzi. Round of applause, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. we're just having a joke now. So I'm from Limpopo, and I'm a petty boy with a mixture of Venda roots. So hey, it's an elevation of status. It's an elevation of status, but I know in Setswana and also in Sesotho, it refers to an elderly male. And on that note, I'll want to start by acknowledging the real Ntate Msibudi Mangena here, who it was a joy for me to meet earlier, because in my first term as a member of parliament, I used to have very brief encounters with him on our way home to Polokwane. So it was heartwarming to see you again. To the group CEO, Ralph Mupita, Ntate Charles Molapisi, since you are the one who introduced the concept of Ntate, and Grotman Yarona, Abuti Panyaza Lisufi, the Premier of Gauteng, and my colleague, the Minister of Basic Education. Premier, when you spoke about chalkboards and dusters, I was very triggered. You know, for those of us who went to school in the mid-90s, early 2000s, there was corporal punishment. Those dusters finished our nails. Those dusters finished our nails. Big time. There is a teacher to this day who, through generations in our family, he terrorized all of us. Because we all went to the same high school, did almost the same subject, so we encountered the same teacher across 3 family members. So the digitization of offering education services is also key for the general well-being of learners. So that you don't have leaders, no, honestly, so that you don't have leaders who are carrying trauma from their previous lives. That thing was unhealthy. So the sooner we eliminate it, the better, just for the general mood. But on a serious note, if you take anything from today, it should be that technology is almost always a tool and not an end on its own. And for this reason, public and private partnerships are crucial for developing a shared commitment to the goals of technology in education. They support our ability as government to effectively wield technology for the good of the many and not just the few. And this is why I'm very proud that this is an inclusive exercise that just doesn't exist in urban spaces. There is an entire world outside of the immediate urban spaces that they prevail. If we don't connect with the outliers of this country, there would not be a Premier of Gauteng with Limpopo roots. There would not be the CEO of MTN with village roots. There would not be the Minister of Basic Education with rural roots. We all are products of education in villages. And we don't have to be the outliers, as the Minister of Basic Education had said. I think the most important thing about universal access and creating equal opportunities is that it doesn't produce outliers, but it empowers everyone to have a fair shot in life. And that is how we will reshape and redefine how South Africa looks in the future. Because there are so many other talented young people who all they need is access to resources and to be able to use the resources for the right reasons. So I'm very glad, Casey, what you said about the appropriate use of these devices for what they are intended for. Because one of the examples that come to mind with the rollout of services, of devices, is Peru. Peru had a project that was called the One Laptop Per Child program, where over 900 laptops were distributed to rural and disadvantaged children. But the evaluation of the program showed that, unfortunately, it didn't have a positive impact on mathematics and language scores, although there was some conclusive positive effects on general cognitive skills. Because what ended up happening was that these devices then become a distraction for entertainment instead of use for education empowerment purposes. So the responsibility you have as learners who are interacting with these devices is primarily there for education purposes. In the early 2000s, as a first-year student at the University of Limpopo, that was my first interaction with a laptop as a university student. And now I'm navigating being, independent also. And it was an overwhelming experience in the sense that you first have to do the first submission of online, assignments. So that means that you must also learn to type faster now. So it impacts on even the quality of your work. But you now have the advantage wherein the barriers to excellence that many who came before you faced are removed. So the only option you have is to excel, because the ground has been laid for you to do that. Secondly is to move in tandem with teachers, and both the Premier and the Minister of Basic Education touched on this. While it's important to keep empowering the learners to have access to these devices and be able to learn through them, I think the most important aspect equally is to make sure that teachers are equal to the task and meet up the expectations of where these learners are traveling. Because the journey on its own will be incomplete if teachers are not fully capacitated to respond to the demands of learning and teaching in a digitized era. So the MTN Connecting Every Child program is not both a pledge by MTN, but a call to their industry peers, and I hope, even though it has ramifications for us, MTN, as a shareholder and one of your competitors, it requires that even as government, we do our part. Because in order for us to keep challenging you to fulfill your social obligations and to go beyond this call of duty, we need to lay that ground for you to be able to do that commitment. Because the ultimate beneficiaries here are young South African learners who we want them to succeed, to produce the skills of the future that our country needs. So South Africa has several policy targets to enhance digital inclusion as outlined in different national plans and strategies. And these include providing internet access to all citizens with 100% broadband penetration by 2030, connecting all schools to internet and providing access to digital learning and resources, equipping all learners and teachers with digital devices by 2025, and ensuring that 100% of teachers are trained in ICT by 2025. These targets are part of the country's broader strategy to close the digital divide and to ensure that citizens have the opportunity to participate in the digital economy. But if we fail to connect the dots and find synergies, we then risk engaging in scattered approaches that disperse resources far and wide, but without making any demonstrable impact. And this is where I think as government, whether it's at provincial level, at local level, and national level, we hold the most responsibility to make sure that we streamline our efforts, we coordinate those interventions, and work together. And the advantage of the GNU, Premier, is that it's no longer about which party has the biggest advantage, because the ultimate carrier becomes the GNU. So those distractions that previously stood in the way of progress will never be there. But finally, on my side, I look forward to seeing this program and all the other commitments by various partners contributing to the implementation of the master plan. Initiatives like this put a fire underneath the belly of the administration, because we too must play our part, and we must play it very well. So I appreciate that what you are doing is helping the work of government in this education sector and not the other way around. The responsibility to bridging the digital divide and addressing all the other socio-economic ills remain principally the responsibility of the government, not just business or non-governmental organizations. And it's something that we don't take lightly, and it's something that we must always be a leader and pioneer in fulfilling it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Minister. I think what you said really spoke about the concept of outliers. I think it's been 30 years since democracy, and we're still speaking about outliers when you have a black girl child who's sitting in corporate rooms. So I'm hoping that this next generation of learners that's sitting in front of us is the end of, in the next couple of years, still speaking about outliers. But I like also what you said about how we all need to contribute. Because the reality is that we all have different strengths, right? But it is all our responsibility, corporate South Africa, civil society, government, to each really leverage our own strengths and capabilities to ensure that we do better. Now, what we're going to do currently is going to have a Q&A, and take a few questions from the learners in the audience, I'd like to please call upon the Minister of Communication and Digital Technology, the Minister of Basic Education, Premier of Gauteng, our CEO, Mr. Charles, as well as MTN Group, Chief Sustainability and Corporate Affairs Executive, Ms. Nompilo Morafo. Thank you very much. There's going to be 2 mics at both ends of the room. If I can please ask the students to raise their hands so that the ambassadors can help us just to take your questions, please. So students, this is your chance to tap into the minds of greatness. So please use this opportunity. It doesn't happen all the time. Please may you start and introduce yourself and pose your question.
I'd like to greet everyone in the room. My name is Yonelisa Ntoyana and I'm from Steve Tshwete Secondary School. So my question is directed to everyone that's in the room who might have a clear view on having an answer. Okay, so our Premier spoke about the digital things that he thinks should be put in place, such as having IT lessons and also having each and every child having a laptop or a tablet, and also smart devices in their schools. So my question is, which measures have you put in place to address this issue? Because in some schools, in some townships, they already have these things, and some privileged schools already have code and ethics as part of their subject, IT labs and everything. So what measures are you going to put in place, and do you also have a clear vision on how you are going to execute your plan? Thank you.
Guys, the future's bright, eh? The future's bright. And I think we are holding our leaders accountable. Thank you so much for that. Please can I ask that our Premier answers that question?
Thank you so much. That's a brilliant question. Truly appreciate it. As I said in my speech, we bent our fingers. That's why we welcome this initiative, because we led, but we're the only one, and we faced lots and lots of challenges. The first one, Minister correctly captured it. It was crime. There is a certain school called Buitumelo in Tembisa. We piloted what we called a paperless school with that particular school. And criminals knew that children of that school have tablets, and they waited for them at their corners. And then, so we didn't want to risk the lives of the children. And it's meaningless to give them tablet and they have to keep them at the school when they're needed at night at home. So that was the one area that we felt we needed to. So we resolved it through putting a tracing or tracking device inside the tablet. At least the crime levels went down. The second thing is the publishers. You have a textbook now. You can use that textbook for 3 years, 4 years. But if we have a digital textbook, they want us to pay it annually. So a textbook that you normally replace after 3 years, Minister, when it becomes digital, the publishers want you to buy it every year. So it becomes very costly for the provincial government to replenish those textbooks literally every year. The third area as well is that when we move towards a digital something, there must be connectivity. And connectivity, and I'm glad, I don't know if the minister that spoke about that, it's no longer a luxury. If people are protesting about water and sewer now, the next protest will be about data. Everyone wants access to data. So we then moved and said, let's start per grade. We only have 35 paperless schools in Gauteng, where there is no paper. So learners have tablets, teachers have laptops and other things. But we said other schools, let's start by grade. So we started with grade 12 and went to grade 11. Now we are stuck at grade 10. The intention is to move to grade 9, grade 8, so that all our high schools in Gauteng, especially townships or high schools, are on a digital platform. But it's a huge cost associated with that. It's massive. So, but I can assure you, because I don't know why they moved me from education, but because I love that sector. When I allocate a budget as a premier, I give education what they want first, and the rest must share what is remaining. Because I really believe education is the... If you can't get education right, you will not get the economy right. And if you can't get the economy right, you'll never get employment and other things. So it starts in the classroom. So we are investing in your future. I can assure you. You said you come from Diepsloot. Or Steve Tshwete. Yeah. There's a school called Diepsloot, Minister. It's a combined school. They've given us 100% matric pass in the last 3 years. Sure. In the middle of the township. So the future is bright, I can assure you. We are committed to change that. And hopefully this partnership of Connecting a Child will assist us to accelerate. But we have been there before and we are ready to be used as a guinea pig MTN. So we've got the connectivity, we've got the devices, we've got the digital platform. So we are ready to really support you. That's why we said we want to work with you rather than behind you. Thanks.
Thank you. The next, Punchu. What did
My punkies.
My punkies, another punky.
Good
Guys,
morning,
the pressure's
everyone.
on. Sorry about that. You can go.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lerato, and I come from Idima Shabani Secondary School. Before I ask my question, I would like to thank MTN for giving us this great opportunity. We thank you, sir. Now, my question is very simple, but I think some of learners do not understand why we actually need devices and internet in our lives. So, Minister of Education, can you please briefly explain why we need, how can having access to smart devices have a great or positive impact in our education? Thank you.
The Premier is absolutely right. The kids are all right. That's what they say amongst youth and Dala, like me. You're absolutely correct. I mean, many people probably still think in 2024 access to a digital device is a luxury. And yes, the minister spoke about the appropriate use of these devices, that it's important that you understand that it's for your school work to be able to leapfrog you into the future. The reason why this is important is because the world is no longer where South Africa is. The world has moved on. And you look at, and my vision for education in the country is that we need to stop looking at ourselves as just, the South African story or the African story. I want us to get to a place where we can compete globally with other global economies. To be able to compete globally means that when you leave school at the end of matric, that I think it's important that you and a child from the Asian countries should be able to compete at the same level. That there should not be a difference between you and a child from European states. That we should be absolutely at the same par. Because the reason why this is important, and the Premier just touched on it, hopefully in years to come, we can stop looking at education as just as a social portfolio. It actually is an economic portfolio. Because if you look at it carefully, it is the cleanest lever to getting people into work. In South Africa, 6 or 7 out of 10 young people are without work. The only way we're going to change that, we're going to start there in the classroom and make sure that all of you are connected, are living in the future, but also when you leave, you can go do coding, you can do whatever it is that the economy needs. We need to stop separating the curriculum from the needs of the economy. If the economy wants this, we need to provide that. We need to teach people the skills that the economy needs. That's the importance of this, that we start matching the two. Because for too long, there's been a mismatch where we're following just dogmatically this curriculum. And we're not asking the question, what does our economy need? What does the global economy need? I want to see you one day going to be an astronaut in the Antarctica. Yeah, and I don't expect you to, your dreams must not be limited to just working here in Gauteng. I want to see you flying the South African flag high in the global stage. The only way we can do that is through technology. Thanks.
Thank you, Minister. We can take 2, 3 more questions. We've got another learner there.
The last one must be a guy. It can't
It has to be. It has to be.
The girls are all right.
Hello, everyone.
Yellow.
My name is Tara Kumbani from Little Girls SOS. Thank you for this initiative. All of the ministers have touched on this topic, but then can I please ask that, as we all know that we come from different backgrounds, not every learner has access to quality internet. So how are you planning on improving the quality of internet connection?
Thank you.
Minister Malati, that's to you.
You know, they say a politician never misses an opportunity to speak, so I was waiting for my opportunity. But that's a very important question, because devices become obsolete if there is no connectivity, right? They become statues because you can't actually gain value from them. And there are 2 approaches to that in terms of how do we improve that. There's the government role side, which is to make sure that the policy that we makes it conducive for more broadband investment to take place, so that Ralph and Charles can be able to extend their footprint, so that regardless of whether you're from Tembisa or in my village, Radihali, if you've got device, you've got the same strength of connectivity. Not this thing where it's buffering. You know, I'm on MTN and I'm gonna abuse this platform. So I also have a soccer club, right? So the online school is very important and useful for them, because we insist that these guys download the material from there. But it chows my data because they all download from my phone. So if the strength of connectivity was far much better for them, 7 of my football players will be able to get their schoolwork done in less than an hour at no cost to them. You know, so I think this is where the challenge lies, in how do we make sure that we remove the barriers that allow the telcos to make the broadband infrastructural investment that becomes an equalizer across the board, because that becomes more important. Having a device is also meant to make sure that the use of time is much more effective than previously. When I was doing matric in 2002, if I needed a question paper from, you know, a friend of mine who went to a better school because they had their examiner there, we would have to arrange that, let's meet at the taxi rank over a weekend, in order for me, coming from a quintile 1 school, to have that question paper and have familiarity in terms of how questions are set for trial examinations and final examination. You guys now have the advantage where you have that entire resource centralized across different platforms. But if you can't access them quickly, we are putting another barrier to you. So I think that's the commitment that we'll get from our side, in terms of fighting very hard daily that we get beyond buffering and you can get smooth connectivity across different network lines, not just the yellow line. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. And maybe just to enrich the words spoken by Ntata Malati, maybe if I can ask the CEO of MTN South Africa just to really speak about the investments that we're making from an infrastructure point of view.
Okay, you won't let me get away with this. No, I think, you know, what's your name again? Tara, look, thanks for the question. I mean, today, the population coverage, meaning the people who are under the cover of the internet, the mobile internet today, is about 98%. So we've covered 98% of all South Africans. And I'm not just talking about MTN here. I think I can talk safely for the industry. The industry has done a very good job. I mean, even if you go to Europe and you see the kind of networks they have in Europe, I mean, you move between 3G and 4G, very low, performance. So the South African network actually is probably, definitely, world-class network, to tell you the truth. So in the last 10 years, this company, MTN, has invested every single year between 8 to 9 to 10 billion rand every single year to put the network. So we've done about 98. Thank you so much for that. So We have done 98% population coverage, but it's not enough. Because like the minister is saying, in some areas, people are at almost the peripheral line of access. So you find that they get what you call a 2 Mbps, megabits per second. Then when you start to move closer to the tower, you get 8 or you get 10, you get 12, 24. So then we need to put more towers to promote more access. But I mean, I come from Kwarankaila. I can watch Netflix from my village, meaning that I'm getting almost 4 Mbps. So the operators, to be honest, have done a fantastic job. We now have the obligations that are driven by the department and ICASA to drive more coverage. So we're going to have to close the 2%. But we don't have to wait for all the conditions to be perfect. We have enough coverage now to drive a mass program of getting access to our people. So with the current coverage that we have, I think we need to push for every single child to have the device in their hands. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we have a bit of time to ask one question. Another lady.
There's
Another
a
lady and another
gentleman
guy.
in the middle.
Please can I maybe prioritize the gentleman in the middle? Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Bonso Kikana. I am from Steve Chwet. So I had one of the ministers saying, I think it was the CEO saying that he wants to install smart boards in the schools, in every schools in Gauteng. So because schools are shortage of textbooks, so like every year children may take textbooks home, so leaving us with shortage of textbooks. How about you guys install smart boards in each and every class so that you can limit the shortage of textbooks, and it will limit you guys the money of buying more textbooks. So if you can see, installing a smart board in a class will help every children in a class look at the smart board, which means they will avoid everyone buying many textbooks for the kids. And many teachers don't really like using chalkboard. Yes, they don't. They don't like using chalkboard. So if using smart boards, I think they will be interested in looking at smart board, because teachers really don't like using dusters because of the dust, you see.
Thank you.
So if you can you, how long will it take you guys to install?
Time. Yeah. So I think if Premier can just answer that question, and then we'll just have one question to Nompilo, which I'll pose to just Nompilo.
Thank you so much. It's quite a good question. As I said, it pains me to see young ones carrying school bags that are so heavy. It really pains me. And during this time and era, you don't have to. Because if you have a device, and that's why we're here, if you have a device, you can be in a position to load all those textbooks. But it's the publishers. So that's why I'm saying ourselves and the minister, we just have to meet with the publishers so that they agree to really restructure their sector. It can be that a textbook that can take me 3 years, I have to buy it annually. But it's also the responsibility of learners. My view there, actually, I'm very, very harsh, and the teachers know. You can't get a textbook for you to learn. And when we finish using that textbook, you misplace it or you don't return it back to school. That's been selfish. Because you are harming the future of another child. Now that you have satisfied yourself, you feel you don't want to return this textbook, and you claim it's lost. Yes, it might be lost, but you don't even have that courage to show remorse that I've lost it, I need assistance. It's something that must be defeated. I mean, the reason why I will also appreciate this intervention is that, Minister, you don't know. The grade 12, because the device to us at the province is like a textbook. After I've used it when we've reached grade 12, you must bring it back. And they say, MEC, we'll introduce them to him, you know? So Barino, speak to the Minister of Higher Education so that he can also give us the device. So it's something that, but I like your idea. Our smart boards must have all the textbooks there, and then the teachers must use the smart board for purpose of learning. So, but we must defeat this thing of carrying textbooks through the school bag. You must just have a nice, strong device that is we can connect and can download everything. MTN actually have a beautiful curriculum on their platform. I must be honest, and that's why I'm excited with the chair of the fund. No, it's beautiful. I use it when my child asks me for something. I dive there and get it and use it as some of the resource information that we have. And just imagine that resource being on the smart board of every classroom. It will improve education in our province. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Just a quick addition. I think this is the homework for us as people in government, that we also need to reimagine how government and government prioritization in terms of budget looks like, right? So we spend a lot of money on textbooks and workbooks that need to be delivered across the country, right? It's one of our biggest line items. It's in the billions of rands when in the department. So the homework for us is, how do we, as we're getting every child connected and online and all of you connected, how do we then reprioritize those funds to support connectivity versus spending all this much money on just textbooks and workbooks? So that's our homework that we need to then see. We can't, in 2024, we also can't, and as much as we're saying education can't be the same, we also can't still be doing government the same. 30 years into our democracy, we must innovate. We must ask ourselves, is this line item in the budget of this department still relevant? How do we repurpose this money to support you guys getting connected and saying, look, your textbooks, let's say we manage to speak to the publishers and they're able to charge us at a capped rate. And then we say, well, you know, we don't need to have millions or billions sent to provinces for textbooks. This is how we've reprioritized. So that is our homework in terms of looking at how do we innovate as government leaders as well.
Thank you. Thank you. And I think just the last question, Nompilo, just one question that, please can you really articulate what this program means and how this fits into MTN's vision? And I think just to demonstrate that it's really at the core of who we are.
Thank you, Kia. The minister said politicians, they always want to speak. Me, it's opposite. I was very happy to get away with this. Not to say anything. So MTN Group, if we talk about foundations, we have 14 foundations across our markets. The largest foundation is the MTN SA one. So we spend about a percentage of our net profit after tax on social development. That's MTN. So what we try to do is that all programs that actually have opportunity to scale, that we do introduce them to all markets. So this program started in Rwanda, and it was amazing to see how civil society really adopted it. I mean, it was started by MTN Rwanda, but what we saw is the power of partnerships where you, like the CEO mentioned, where you call on your own partners in the value chain, and also, but what's more important for me is the communities themselves, because Charles here can do a lot of things. But if young people don't appreciate what has been offered to them, it just simply doesn't work. I think the minister mentioned it very well, that we need to learn to teach our children differently, that every opportunity you get, you need to use it to your own advantage and the advantage of your community. It becomes very important. Marina and I, we did the same program in Uganda. What we found premier interesting in Uganda, they didn't have a problem called security, which was for me was big, because our communities in South Africa, like they've mentioned, the child will put devices, they disappear next week. So it's something that is so important to MTN. We do this in every market, and all we're hoping for is that these projects are able to scale. And the only way they will be able to scale is in partnerships with the colleagues that I'm sitting with here, because we need to all hold each other accountable.
Thank you very much. So please may I ask that you move to the table, to your seats, but if I can ask Nompilo please to join us on stage just for closing thoughts and remarks. Sorry, Nompilo.
Thank you, Kiabethu. My daughter's name is Riabethu, so I always like saying your name in full. So I'm going to really stand on existing protocol. I think we've all been here for such a long time that we know who we are. I'm going to reintroduce myself. I'm the Chief Sustainability Officer for MTN. MTN has got 14 foundations across markets. We have, I think Charles spoke about hope, dignity, and opportunity, which is something that really our programs stand for. So I had a speech that now I think is completely irrelevant because I've heard everybody speak and before we say the same thing. I just want to pick on something that the Premier mentioned this morning when we spoke about what is today really about. So the Minister of Digital Economy, Communications and Digital Economy talked about being triggered. I am very triggered, and you are too young to know anything about a duster. Joke. Sorry. That can't be your life. You must ask me and Ramsey and Charles about a duster. The reason why I'm so triggered by this event is because I come from a small village. It's not on the map, so don't try to Google it. It's in KZN somewhere. I always say to Charles and Ralph, every time I go home, because I'm in the exco with Charles, now I must go find a mountain, because now I must dial into the exco to find connectivity. So I'm still in that group that still doesn't have connectivity. So I always remind them every time that I work at MTN, but I still have to do that. The company does so much. The industry has done so much, but we cannot succeed without the partnerships that we are forging today. Premier, so when you spoke about that, a lot of mistakes have been made. That's true. But what we've always appreciated is the caring that comes with it. Because we need to care about our kids. We need to care about young people. They're standing here holding us accountable for what we can do for them. I'll speak for myself. I came from a place where all of these things we're talking about today, so that's why I'm saying the minister is too young to know how that's like. But what happened to some of us is that we were raised by a community and the partnerships around us that cared. So caring means you're going to make a lot of mistakes. Maybe you'll provide a device that's not correct. Maybe the board will not write properly, but you did something. And if you do get to a point of doing something for young people, look at us. I always say that we are the success. And because we've succeeded, we all have the honors to make sure that young people that are coming behind us also succeed. So I congratulate you for caring. That's what I can say. So to the Mpunkununus, I think the minister spoke about the Mpunkununus. That's why I'm saying I'm triggered. I remember, I look at her and I think of myself at this age. Today you will not know what this means today. You'll only think about it maybe 20 years from now, what today is trying to achieve for you, what these ministers came all the way to spend their time with you, what they're trying to achieve. You'll remember all of this like in 30 years from now. But what I wanted you to take from MTN is that it's a company that holds itself accountable. We mean what we say. We are for the communities. We believe that everybody deserves the benefits of a modern connected life, regardless of your circumstance and where you are. So hold yourself accountable as well, that the program like this, you make it really meaningful for your own development. Your community is relying on you. They're counting on you. They are hoping, your mothers, wherever they are, they're hoping you're learning something at MTN. So take accountability for your own life. Things are not done for you to trash them, like the Premier was saying, so that you throw away the tablets. Make sure that people that come also after you benefit from this program, because you have to pay it forward. What has been done for you, you need to make sure that you pay it forward and you do it for others. So I don't have a lot of the other things to say. Both ministers are very young. They gave testimonies about dusters, and I was sitting there thinking, and Ramsey kept showing the minister that before you were hit here with a duster, it means you were not there. So we know you were not there. But thank you so much for coming, and thank you so much, Charles. I always say, like, whenever we have an event and we have something that talks about communities, we always say in the department, go call Charles. Because we all know his heart, that his heart is really in development, and whatever he says he's going to do, he means it will be done. Thank you so much.